A few weeks ago, I was at a antique engine show for the Ashtabula Antique Engine Club out in Ashtabula, Ohio. And on the back of a gentleman's trailer in the flea market was this blower that caught my eye, and I took a quick look at it and recognized it as an organ blower. And the second thing that immediately caught my eye was the Century motor that I recognized. And the Century motor is a unique motor in that it's an induction start impulsive motor. This particular one is a 1/2 horsepower. And if you look at the nameplate, I cleaned it up a little bit. It's a P2 frame, 1750 RPMs. Patent dates are 1899 and January of 1903. That puts this as a fairly early motor. I do have several others. I have a 7.5 horsepower Century with the 1903 patent date. And I also have a couple small ones, 1/6 horse and maybe a 1/4 horsepower. And as I looked at it a little bit closer, I saw the tag on it. Obviously, I've cleaned it up since I brought it home. But this was made by the Schantz Organ Company in Orville, Ohio. Schantz organs have been there for quite some time. They build them by hand. They're the same people that built the organ in my church in Mentor, Ohio at Mentor United Methodist Church. And we use that organ several times a week. It's a beautiful, beautiful instrument. The motor itself is primarily what I was after. And being from the Schantz Organ Company, it's a little bit of a bonus. But I'm going to try to fire it up here and see if it doesn't run. And I did start it a few minutes ago, but we'll start it again. It fired up the first time I tried it. What's interesting about this motor, being an induction start, there's a commutator on there and there are brushers on there to, I guess it excites the windings for the starter. When it gets up to RPMs, the centrifugal force will force the brushes, some springs to pop out and release the brushes off the commutator so that you're not constantly putting energy into the starting windings. I suppose that's what's happening. And when the motor slows down in RPMs, you'll be able to hear the brushes click back in and make contact with the armature once again. This motor is original. I believe the paint is all original. And it must have been in a fairly good environment because it's actually in fairly good condition. And the finish on it is actually quite nice. You can still see the original paint and everything in the windings, but let's put some power to it and see what happens. And it fires right up. Now the motor itself is running very well. What's making all the noise is the blower unit. There are some baffles in here and the blower's bouncing around, maybe on the outboard bearing. But the motor itself has very good bearings and it's running quite smoothly. Able to see how the brushes will come back in. So everything seems to be working fairly good. I believe, again, the bearing is a little bit bad, probably on the outboard bearing for the blower. The motor itself is pretty good. A little bit of slop in this connection here. So this was a $25 purchase. I think I did pretty good on it. I'm very happy to have it. Another antique motor, Century motor, rescued from the scrapyard.